Hey, it's Will from Your Career Mastery. In this video, we're going to be talking about ego and how it could be holding you back in your career and holding you back from awesome opportunities and landing that dream role that you're going for. So I've definitely noticed this in my career, and you might have noticed it as well. We get to a point in your career where you're starting to get a bit of success, you're starting to make a little bit more money, things are going great. But then you start to feel a little bit of ego come in where you start to think, oh, I kind of know this situation. I know this level of expertise or this particular area of whatever you do in your job that you're really good at, you've become quite successful in. But then you start to pull back on the learning. You stop asking as many questions, you stop being as curious, and you start to kind of plateau both in your skills and your knowledge, but also just in your broader career. And you start thinking, well, what's the next level for me in my career? How do I actually get to that next level? But if you actually let your ego creep in to that extent where you stop learning, maybe you're not quite as humble or open to new opportunities, new ways of thinking, that's actually definitely going to hold you back in your career, and it's going to hold you back from putting yourself into challenging situations that might actually bruise your ego a little bit, but which are actually super important in terms of helping you grow as a professional and helping you move forward in your career and land new jobs and taking on new levels of responsibility and essentially make more money. But if we want to keep moving forward in our career, it's super important that we do stay humble. This is one of the most important traits, just I think, in almost all areas of life, but especially in your career. When we're out there in the workplace and we're talking to people, we're working on projects, we need to make sure we're not being Mr. or Mrs. Know-it-all, but actually we're staying open, we're staying curious, and actually we're willing to let old ways of working die so that new ways of working can rise like the phoenix from the ashes and actually help us evolve in our careers and stay up to date with what is happening in our industry, what's happening in the businesses that we work in, so that we can stay adaptable to change in our careers, but we can also be the kind of person that is continually growing, because that's the only way to move forward in your career. If you're just doing everything that you've always done, the saying goes, you'll get what you've always got. And it's almost a very cliche quote, but it makes perfect sense, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, thinking you're gonna get a different result. So I've definitely been at points in my career where I've just felt very comfortable. And it's a nice place to be, right? So you work really hard, you get into a new role, you're smashing it out of the park, but then you start to feel yourself beginning to coast. And it's kind of human nature to do that, right? We don't necessarily want to put in any more effort than we need to get the key results that we're going after in our key projects and in our day-to-day roles. But if you want to keep moving forward, if we want to keep advancing in our career, if we want to get that awesome pay rise, that promotion, that bonus, then it's going to require us to step out of our comfort zone. And in many times when we step out of our comfort zones, we risk looking silly or stupid, or actually revealing to ourselves that we don't know everything. And if we've held on to that part of our ego for too long, it can be really confronting and actually kind of scary to put yourself into that situation. A good example of this is last year, I actually started a new job. So in my previous role, I was there for 4 years. I knew everyone, I knew everything, I knew how the business worked, I knew how my role functioned within that business. I built a lot of clout, I had some great relationships. I was at the peak of my game in that business. But then I switched roles into a completely new company, a much bigger company. So before I worked for a company that was national within Australia, but now I work for a company that's multinationals pretty much all over the world with some of the biggest brands in the world. But it was a completely new industry, completely new business, completely new way of working. So I actually had to forget a lot of what I'd learned in my previous role and in fact start from a completely new base, which I have to say, for the most part, was very, very humbling. In fact, a lot more humbling than I was expecting going into this new role. But having now been in the role for about 14 months, a bit more comfortable now, and I can say it was one of the best things I've ever done. It was a scary leap, but how it's moved me forward in my career in terms of the expertise that I've built, the new relationships, the new industry and business knowledge that I've accumulated, but also just having gone through that experience and remembering what it's like to be the new kid at school, meeting everyone, learning everything, and not being Mr. Know-it-all, not having any clout really at all, to now actually building foundations and growing my personal brand within the business. It was a fantastic experience, but if I had let my ego get in the way, I would have closed this opportunity off from myself, and it would have really held me back in my career in the long term. So I really want to challenge you if you're watching this video, and if you feel like, man, this really resonates with me in my career because I'm definitely getting too comfortable in my role, and maybe it's my ego that's holding me back a little bit, I'd really like to challenge you to put that ego aside, step into a bit more humility, and really open yourself up to new ways of working, new challenges, new mindsets and ways of approaching things, but also just to keep learning. So the most important things in your career, if you want to move forward, become more successful, you need to become a learning machine, but you can only do that if you're willing to acknowledge that you do not have all the answers. You need to go out there and get more information. And that could come from people more junior than you or more senior. You need to be open to that. You need to lean into it. I'm Will Vaughan from Your Career Mastery. I really hope you found this video helpful. Any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. And if you really like this video and you're getting value from my channel, do not forget to subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.